Welcome back. I am Pratap here. Today is 20 October 2024. In this video, I am going to generate different weekly reports. Even before generation of these reports, all of you please understand we are providing complete free training on supply demand zone price action. All the training lessons can be accessible at our NeoStock YouTube channel. So at our channel homepage, you click on the tab post. Some of you might be seeing the tab community. So click on the tab, you get access to this post. This post is having a YouTube playlist link that will take you to all the training lessons. You just click on the link. Now we are into the playlist supply demand zone price action course. Here you have all the training lessons are available. You just need to scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here starting from lesson 1.1, all the training lessons are placed in an order. So please go through all these lessons one by one and strengthen your skills related to supply demand zone price action. I have also provided the link to our Telegram channel in this video description. So from the video description, please find the Telegram channel link and join at our Telegram channel. It will be helpful to you. Each time when we release a new YouTube video or any other very important updates, we will be providing at our Telegram channel. Okay, now let's get into the report generation, the weekly reports. For weekly time frame, let's find the stocks near weekly demand zone. So these 9 stocks are filtered which are near to the weekly demand zone. I am giving you only few seconds time to watch the report. So you need to pause the video. After study all these stocks, you can proceed further. In case if you does not know how to study or how to understand this report, I request you complete our training lesson 21.1. That is part 1 of lesson 21. In that video, I have explained each and every column, their values, abbreviations, everything I explained in detail. Okay, next report for weekly time frame. Let us find the stocks near weekly supply zone. 6 stocks are filtered near to the weekly supply zone. The next report for weekly time frame. Let us find the stocks where price closed inside weekly demand zone. So very good number of stocks are filtered. First 16 stocks you are seeing in this page. I am scrolling the list down. So total 54 stocks are filtered. In all these 54, the prices are currently closed inside the weekly demand zone. Maybe some of these demand zones might be pierced demand zones. You can ignore those stocks. Okay, to identify the demand zones having a higher probability rate or higher probability to success the rate, we can set different parameters to filter the stocks. First, what I am going to do, I want to eliminate the pierced demand zones. So I want to set the pierced count because we are using weekly zones. The minimum value should be 0, maximum value should be 0. That indicates pierced count should be 0. Pierced count 0 means the zone is not pierced. Now let me filter the demand zones which are not pierced zones, but prices are currently closed inside the weekly demand zone. Still we got a big list. So let me scroll the list down for your reference purpose. Still 52. Something is wrong. Yeah. I need to set the entry zone as a demand zone because we set the pierced count to the demand zone. So sorry for my mistake. Okay, now the list is reduced. Scrolling the list down. We got 33 stocks instead of 52, 33. That means 19 stocks, peer-set stocks we eliminated from the list. But still 33 is a big number. Can we further reduce this list? Yes. So based on the EMA or based on the zone confluence, different parameters we can use. So what I am going to do, because the demand zones are always useful in the uptrend. So that's why the trend should be uptrend and EMA, weekly EMA confluence, both the parameters. What I am doing, zone violation trend and weekly time frame, I am selecting the trend as uptrend. That means they are bullish. And also having weekly EMA confluence, because we are looking on the weekly demand zone with weekly EMA confluence. See, weekly demand zone with weekly WEMA means weekly EMA confluence. So with this combination, the trend is uptrend and our weekly demand zone with weekly EMA. Both the parameters supports. How many weekly zones are getting filtered? Let us check. Now the list is reduced to 18. In all these 18 stocks, the weekly trend is uptrend. What is weekly? Because current time frame we have selected is weekly. That is nothing but LTF. Whichever the time frame you select, that time frame will be treated as a LTF, lower time frame, by our software. So the weekly trend is uptrend. And also all these weekly zones are having, weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Now you can analyze these stocks, that way you can plan your trades. Here you may get a question. Do I need to plan my trade on weekly zone? Need not be. You can use weekly zone, your weekly zone as an ITF. You can use weekly zone as a HTF. And whatever the concepts you learned in our course, the bullish trade setup or bearish trade setup, that way you can plan your trades. Or maybe if you are a long-term or a medium-term investor, directly on the weekly zone you can plan your trades. Okay, but these are the stocks. Currently, the prices are closed inside the weekly demand zone. If you fine tune to 5 minutes time frame, daily time frame or 75 minutes time frame, once prices reaches near to that zone, you can plan your trade. That way you can do your trade. See, it's up to your imaginations. There is no limit. Whatever the way you think, that way you can plan your trades. This is how these zones will be helpful to you. And moreover, we said at least among the other zones, these 18 stocks are having a high priority. Still, if you want to filter, you can filter. Still, it is possible. How we can filter? How many of these zones are having confluence with monthly zone? That way also you can plan the trade. Let me add one more parameter. See, our strategy builder is having flexibility to define hundreds of strategies. This is the way I define this strategy builder. See, now I am adding one more filter. We have a demand zone confluence. Currently, this is the weekly demand zone. This weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence filter I am adding. What is the meaning of weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence? Weekly demand zone should overlap with monthly demand zone. If weekly demand zone overlap with monthly demand zone, the order flow might be much stronger. I am not saying it is compulsory. Maybe there are higher chances. The probability is even more. That is what I am trying to say. It is a probability game. Predicting the future is a probability game, because you want success. Based on the probability, the success rate will determine. Now we got only 3 stocks. Currently prices are closed inside the weekly demand zone. The weekly demand zone is having confluence with monthly demand zone, and weekly trend is up. Monthly trend is also up here in all the 3 stocks. They are very bullish. And moreover, weekly zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Hope you got the clarity now. Okay, next set of reports for weekly time frame. Let us find the stocks where price closed inside the weekly supply zone. We got 13 stocks. Currently prices closed inside these weekly supply zones. Some of these zones are pierced zones. What we can do? We can further filter, because supply zones, we have to apply for supply zones. Earlier we didn't select this filter, later on we updated, right? You remember? So that's why selected this supply zone. That means the filters should be applied to supply zone. That is what the meaning. See now the pierced count, whatever the filter I am setting, this filter is applied to supply zone. If you don't select a supply zone, this filter will be applied to either demand zone or supply zone, either side. Now what I am saying, weekly minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count should be 0. Pierced count 0 means zone is not pierced. Which zone? The entry zone, supply zone. And currently prices are closed inside the supply zone. Which supply zone? Weekly supply zone. That is the entry time frame. Now the list is come down to 9. All these 9 zones are not pierced. Currently prices are closed. In all these zones, that current trend is uptrend or sideways. In such kind of situation, you may use this as a HTF zones, HTF time frame. If you want to plan a bearish related trade setups, then daily zone trend is downtrend. If any of these stocks downtrend daily zone, that way you plan your bearish trade setup related trades. These are the different strategies you can apply. And any of these zones are having EMA confluence. But if you want to check EMA confluence, at least trend should be downtrend. None of these stocks are having a trend as downtrend. Maybe some of these stocks currently prices are not closed inside, maybe having downtrend. That we will see later. But currently remember, these are the stocks where price closed inside the weekly zone. Okay, next reports for weekly time frame. Let us find the stocks where they tested the weekly demand zones during this week. So these are the demand zones tested. These stocks having the demand zones tested during this week. I am saying these stocks having the demand zones. I am scrolling the list down. So 21 stocks. So these 21 stocks having the demand zones are tested during this week. Okay, next for weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having the supply zones tested during this week. So these 7 stocks having supply zones are tested during this week. Next, let us identify newly created zones for weekly time frame. Newly created demand zones. The stocks having newly created demand zones. So these 4 stocks are having newly created demand zones during this week. Okay, next for weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. So these 14 stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. Okay, now let's find the stocks based on some combinations. Filter the stocks for weekly time frame. Bullish trade setup stocks let us identify based on the trend, uptrend. If the list is very big, further I will also filter based on the trend, swing high lows. You can also call pivot high lows. That is higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low, equal high, equal low. You already learned in your phase 1 training program. So based on that, zone violation, you are already aware, supply demand zone violation, we can calculate the trend. First, I gave importance to supply demand zone concept based trend, the uptrend. If the list is big, then we will further filter. If both the trends are uptrend, that is even more high probability. But see, the list is very big. But I am scrolling the list to check any of your favorite stocks are there in this list. Just I am giving you a few seconds when I scroll down. So you need to pause the video and then proceed further. So total 133 stocks are having uptrend. So it's a very big list. So what I do, I will also add pivot high-low trend also, uptrend for weekly time frame. If both the trends are uptrend, that indicates at least the trend is very solid in that particular stocks. See, now the list is reduced. Instead of 133, let us see how many are filtered. I am scrolling the list down. $65. Almost half of the stocks are filtered. Earlier 133. Now the list is come down to 65. Both zone violation trend and a swing high-low trend, both are supporting uptrend. These are the stocks. To further filter, you can filter based on the EMA confluence, because uptrend EMA confluence makes sense. So in how many of these demand zones are having EMA? Because we need to check the demand zone. So weekly demand zone, I am having weekly EMA confluence. Even without setting this entry zone also you will get, because this parameter is not having any dependency on entry zone, because we selected clearly demand zone. Which demand zone? Weekly demand zone with weekly EMA confluence. Earlier we got 62 stocks, right? Now the list is further reduced. I am scrolling the list down. Now 33 stocks. Half of the list is reduced. In these 33 stocks, both zone violation trend and pivot high-low trend both are uptrend, and also the weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Some of these stocks are having prices closed inside the demand zone. Some are prices moving towards all-time high. Some of the stocks prices are currently moving towards the demand zone. Which demand zone? Weekly demand zone. And some of the stocks are near to the weekly demand zone. The trend is up. Both. Which trend? LTF is weekly trend. ITF is monthly trend. HTF is quarterly trend. This is the way you should understand. And also you are seeing price direction also here. HTF, ITF. Okay, this is how you should filter the stocks, and you can find high probability setup supported stocks. Okay, next let us look for stocks currently having downtrend for weekly time frame. Trend, zone violation trend and weekly time frame. I am selecting the trend as a downtrend. So currently these 14 stocks are supporting downtrend. Weekly trend is a downtrend. You can also look into the signal type to understand current price direction. And these are HTF and ITF price direction. Okay, next let us look for how many of these stocks are having EMA confluence, which zone? Supply zones. Because the trend is downtrend, If supply zone is, these weekly supply zones are having downtrend, they are probably high probability setup supported stocks. So EMA Confluence and weekly time frame, I am selecting weekly supply zone with weekly EMA Confluence. See here, weekly supply zone with weekly EMA Confluence. With this parameter, we got 5 stocks. Here first one, Bandhan Bank is already, any pierced zones are there? No. None of them are pierced zones. Only demand zone is pierced. But we are looking for supply zones. So our supply zones are not pierced. And these supply zones are having EMA Confluence. And also the trend is downtrend. That way any short trades you want to plan, you can plan in these stocks. Or you can also plan bearish trade setups for weekly income trades based on this. You can keep this as a ITF zone, these stocks, and you can plan your trades on the daily time frame. That way also you can plan. You already learned supply demand zone price action course. Okay, the next set of the reports, let us look for, let us eliminate based on the zone confluence. LTF, ITF, HTF zone confluence. That means weekly zone should be part of the monthly zone, both weekly and monthly together part of the quarterly zone, such kind of stocks. So entry time frame is weekly. In the demand zone confluence, first let us look for demand zone confluence. How I am verifying here, a weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. That means weekly demand zone should be part of the monthly demand zone. And next, weekly demand zone confluence with quarterly demand zone confluence filter. Weekly demand zone should also be part of the quarterly. And also, monthly demand zone should be part of the quarterly demand zone. That is what LTF, ITF, HTF. These 3 filters, the meaning is weekly demand zone is part of the monthly demand zone. Both weekly and monthly together again part of the quarterly demand zone. We got around 20 or 21 stocks we got. These are the first 19 stocks. I am scrolling the list down. So total 21 stocks are filtered. You may ask a question, can we find even high probability within this? Maybe. Because all are part of quarterly related zone, because weekly is part of monthly, both together part of quarterly. If quarterly zones are having quarterly EMA confluence, they might be high probability. Let us check to further filter in the EMA confluence at quarterly time frame. Why quarterly? Because weekly zone is part of monthly, both together again part of the quarterly. If quarterly demand zone is having quarterly EMA confluence, they might be high probability setups. These 13 stocks are filtered. In all these 13 stocks, quarterly demand zone confluence is there for these demand zones. This is the way you can filter. But the quarterly sideways trend, you can eliminate the first stock. Because the trend should always be, quarterly trend should always be uptrend. So in the zone violation trend, quarterly trend I selected uptrend. Now we got 12 stocks. In all these 12 stocks, quarterly trend is uptrend. So this is the way different combinations, high probability setups we can identify. Exactly the same way, let us apply the concept for supply zones. For weekly time frame, let us look for the supply zones having confluence. So weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. Weekly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence filter I enabled. And now monthly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence also enabled. With all the 3 filters, we got 5 stocks. These are the supply zone confluence. Any of the supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence, that also you can check in the EMA confluence. Quarterly time frame, quarterly supply zone with quarterly EMA confluence. So these 4 stocks, supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence. Sideways setup supported stocks you have to eliminate. So the trend, quarterly trend should be sideways, should not be. Actually quarterly trend is uptrend in quarterly trend is uptrend, but a downtrend scenario they are valid, but none of these stocks are not good for the supply for the EMA confluence, because they are in uptrend. Downtrend may be a good choice, but anyway, supply zones are having EMA confluence. So next, in the final report, let us generate all this weekly demand and supply zones without any filters for your reference purpose. Your favorite stock might be there. You want to know what kind of parameters currently supporting. If you want to analyze, this list will be useful to you. This is the complete list of all the stocks, 196 stocks. First 17 in this list are indices. That includes all the sectorial indices, and remaining all are equity stocks. But the equity stocks, we filtered the list based on the stocks listed in F&O. But these are all not F&O stocks, they are all equity stocks, but filtered from F&O listed companies. Okay, what I do, I keep on scrolling the list down, whichever the stock you want to refer, there you please pause the video. I am scrolling the list down. So this is the end of the list. Hope this information will be useful to you. Let's all meet again in our next video. Thank you.